Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, February 22nd, 8:46 a.m., and I made a purchase. I purchased something. And that purchase, I'm going to show you guys if you don't know what the purchase is, because I showed it off last night after Nvidia earnings. But I did indeed make a purchase. I tweeted about this purchase. I didn't even add a caption to this tweet in the purchase I made, and this tweet got 27,000 views because sometimes you don't need to say anything. Sometimes you just let things speak for themselves. And this is what I bought yesterday. This is the purchase that I made. Here we go. This is it. This was the tweet. This is what I bought. There's the notification arriving tomorrow by 9 p.m. And that's all you needed to do. Everyone understood why I made this purchase. By the way, $47, good deal. It's not too bad. Not too bad at all. I bought this leather jacket. No, I actually didn't buy it yesterday. I bought it two days ago. I thought it would come in time for Nvidia earnings, but it didn't. I was going to wear it after hours for Nvidia because I had a feeling they were going to crush. I didn't know they were going to crush the way they crushed. So we got a lot to talk about that. But this did not come, so it'll come by 9 p.m. today. So tomorrow, Friday, you guys are going to see a new emit. I'm sorry, there's going to be a new emit on this market open. That leather jacket, I think, is gonna do something different. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we've got to talk about Nvidia earnings. Absolutely destroyed expectations, crushed what the analyst estimates were, and as a result of that, stocks up about 12.5% after hours, or in the pre-markets, basically up $195 billion. Palantir is up 6% because of that. The entire market, quite frankly, is up. Is that healthy? I don't really know. But the point is, whatever short-term bubble we are in regards to valuations, how the market is, EPS estimates for the S&P 500, all of that is going to continue at least one more day, because not even a hot jobs report, which we also have to talk about in terms of initial jobless claims, is going to be enough to take down what Nvidia is doing to this market. So we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to get into. Let's get into it. Gift Magic, Richard, Felicia, Nick Piercy, Reza, Valerio, Iceman JJ, Sethi Roth, Broccoli Bob, Franz Baker, Sockon Parade, Theosis, Cost Why Not, Yeti, Canman, Heavy D, Billy Bag Donuts, Eeyore was right, Tyler, Kaiser, Joseph Vegas, Monty, Justin Bryan. Someone says, "Admit, now you need just the motorcycle to go with it." Yeah, I guess that's what we need to do. Johnny Boy, Brasker Ready, Dexter, Amit, Dexter. Hello, thanks for being here. Marvin, Tyler, Steve, Franz, B Plays, Duvinson, Tizio, Stevie Stone. All right, let's get into the market open. I did not buy Nvidia calls, Stevie, so I didn't gamble on Nvidia, but I know some people that did, and they ended up, well, it looks like they're gonna do well on some of these calls. There were $16,100 strikes expiring tomorrow that were opened yesterday. Those were going for 17 cents a pop. Kind of think of it as like a lottery ticket. I'm really going to be really curious to see what they open at today, but they were 17 cents a pop. Maybe, they're definitely going to go up today. I don't know if they're going to get up to these levels that some of these people expected, because I don't think the stock's going to $1,300, but it will be up, and people will make some money off that as the market opens today, given what Nvidia did. All right, so let's talk about Nvidia earnings. We're going to discuss all the juicy stuff, and then I want to go through a bunch of different things I did yesterday. If you missed my market close yesterday, or the market close stream, I raised some cash. I'm now in like 30% cash, and I closed all the positions that I kind of just wanted to get out of, take some profits on certain positions, and kind of just prepare in case anything happens. To me, you guys know, in the summer of 2023, things got really toppy in the market. I mean, very frothy for what that time period suggested. We got 2 more rate hikes after that, and I didn't trim anything. Like, dude, I was up $30,000 on SoFi. I didn't trim a single penny. So it's like, I think at this point, I've learned a little bit. Like, when things get toppy, you'd rather be safe than sorry and take some profit. So we'll go over some of the profits that I took, but let's talk about Nvidia earnings. Nvidia absolutely crushed in a way that is honestly incomprehensible. The numbers that they put up were unreal. They beat all expectations. They brought in about $20 billion or $22 billion of revenue, which is above expectations of $20 billion. So they beat revenue by $2 billion. All right. Data center revenue was $18.4 billion. That is up 409% year over year. Guidance for 2022 or for Q1 2024 was $24 billion, which is actually beating expectations of $22 billion, which is, $22 billion beating expectations of $20 billion. So that's up. I mean, they're literally bringing $2 billion more than what was expected. And one of the most interesting things is that their operating expenses, they did all of this while only increasing 2%. So data center revenue is up, net income is up, top line revenue, they did 60 billion last year, above 26 billion. That's up 126% year over year. Gross margins went from 56.9% to 72.7%. That's up 15.8 basis points. Net income went from 4.3 billion to 29.7 billion. That's up 581% year over year. Diluted earnings per share, $1.74 versus $11.93. That's up 586% year over year. And operating expenses is only up 2%. Somehow they managed to scale this company in a way that we haven't seen an internet company scale since the beginning of the internet by only increasing their operating expenses by 2%. And that's what a SaaS business should do, right? A tech business should be able to have fixed costs and then just use their technology to be able to scale as much as they can. And that is what Nvidia did. Now, what did Jensen Huang talk about on the call? Essentially, by the way, Wolf Research, we're going to see a bunch of price target upgrades. Wolf Research just put out a price target of 900, up from 650. And I'll try to find some more price target upgrades, but that is what happened like literally 20 minutes ago. Essentially, what Jensen Huang said, SMCI up 6% as well, is that like accelerated computing and AI is not going anywhere. And it's quite frankly, in his opinion, reached a tipping point. And if accelerated computing and AI have reached a tipping point, and every single industry and every single vertical, whether it's healthcare, whether it's governments, whether it's media and entertainment, whether it's supply chain, logistics, whatever it may be, you're either buying NVIDIA GPUs or you're buying services from a hyperscaler, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, that is buying NVIDIA GPUs. And so when you put that together, it makes it really obvious that this is not stopping. This is not going anywhere. This S-curve is going to continue. And as a result of that, it's up 11%. Now, we are going to talk about one of the major downsides of that call that a lot of people are pointing to as the reason for why this is absolutely a cyclical bubble, even if AI writ large is not a bubble. And so we'll talk about that in a second. But that is sort of the core thesis that Jensen Huang put out yesterday. And the street's responding. I mean, they ate up whatever he was saying on that earnings call. And now they're up 11.7% on the day. Broccoli Bob said new price target to $1 million. I mean, look, at some point, this is just going to keep going. The reason I started selling and got into some cash yesterday is because I felt this is getting a little ridiculous in terms of just how the market is operating. Look at the S&P. It's at 504. We are at an all-time high in the pre-markets on the S&P because of Nvidia. Now, I don't know about you, and I'm bullish. I want the market to go into super bull mode. I want 2024 to be great. But if the entire economy is resting, the entire stock market is resting on one company to have the right numbers, that is an economy that's in a pretty unique position. Not in a bad position, not in a good position, but just a unique position. Because what if that company did bad? This is the reaction in the Germany market. They went to a multi-year high because of Nvidia earnings. I mean, Japan is now at Japan. They made a historic comeback, closing at an all-time high after a 34-year drought. They also pushed higher because of Nvidia earnings. Like at the end of the day, every single company and ultimately every single government in the world came to the conclusion that Nvidia is going to signal more growth. And right now, that makes it really interesting to see what's happening. Did you sell Palantir? No. I'm actually going to show you guys what I sold. So I tweeted this last night. Again, if you're following on Twitter, you would have seen this last night. So I added up everything I sold, and this is what we're looking at so far in terms of options. I did sell the Palantir options, but this is what we're at. So I'm going to put this in the chat. Anyone can go check this out. But average return on options this year so far have been 50.61%, and the total we've collected is let's call it 13,900. And about 4,000 of that, 4,350 of that is in the Roth. The other 9,000 of that is just in the regular brokerage. So we're not going to pay taxes on 4,350 of this money. But the other money we're going to pay some taxes on. So the reason I calculated this last night, and this is what I wrote in the caption, is that the only option positions I have left are TFC, PayPal, and Robinhood. Robinhood and TFC are at 2026. So honestly, just not touching those. I want to ride those out till 2026, to be honest, because I think in 2 years the market will be okay, and we'll see what happens there. Obviously, if they go crazy in the short term, we'll get rid of some, but until then, we'll just deal with that right now. The only main loser here is PayPal. So my thesis here is that given the frothiness of the market, I'm not going to be buying any more options. All of these were bought in Q4 2023 when the market was actually still giving a discount. TFC, at 29, Robinhood at $8, Google even was at 139ish. So now will be the time to transition to selling cash secured puts or covered calls, but likely the time to buy options is gone unless an individual company really takes a beating or the general market takes a pullback. And even if we do get a general market pullback, I don't know if that's going to warrant the opportunity to actually go super long on a company via options. And so it's a really interesting space we're in right now in terms of what's going on in regards to the broader equity market. Dejuki says, I'm getting kind of annoyed at this green market. I want to go back to red days. I miss buying the dip. Yeah, I think a lot of people feel the same. Smitty says the stock market has everyone suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Just because it's high doesn't mean it needs to go down. I mean, look, this is also a really good point as well. Here's my thought process and then the psychology behind this, and then we'll talk more about Nvidia. Yes, the stock market doesn't need to come down just because it's high, but the probability of the stock market coming down a little bit more because it's high, objectively, is greater than it continuing to go up. Like, it just in the history of the stock market, when you have this, 15% run, already 6% year to date in the S&P, you have a little bit of a pullback. That happens. Now, does that have to happen? Absolutely not. And could there be a bunch of different catalysts for the market to just keep going forward, like this monster Nvidia earnings? Yes. But it could also come down. So I don't think this is like get the hell out of the market. I far from that. I think this is, hey, we talked about this on Finance Junkies last night. Take some profits. It's okay. You can take some profits. And, if there's a dip, then you get back in. But it's not the worst thing in the world. Benny says, admit the pullback could end up being higher than current prices if we end up rallying for a while. Yeah, that's true. It's true. I think we just guys have to remember we've rallied a lot, right? This is the thing people forget about when it's euphoria, and I forget about this as well. When we're in massive amounts of green, it's like we think the rally can last forever. We saw Palantir fall to 22.30 yesterday off the potential of Nvidia shitting the bed. Palantir right now up 5% right now, 23.92. I think we'll make a run for 24 if Nvidia can keep this going. But like if Palantir can fall just off that pure potential, imagine what happens if there's some actual instability. The Fed minutes came out yesterday. They're not cutting rates until July. I mean, they made that pretty clear. What could actually happen if there's a little bit of turmoil in the broader equity market? So I think we just have to, be optimistically cautious on the fact that, hey, things can come down. If Nvidia is the only thing holding up the market, we need to understand that things could be potentially coming down as well. David says, amid the Titan contract supposed to be announced before the end of March. We will see. Yeah, so is S&P inclusion in March. So those are two major catalysts for Palantir as well. The question now is the market pricing those in, or is the market going to be able to allow Palantir to surge? For the S&P 500 inclusion and for the Titan contract to actually help Palantir, the market needs to be in a good position. Because if the market's in a crappy position macro-wise and, stocks are down, those two individual reports, I don't think necessarily surge Palantir because it's already up 50% year to date. Right. And now today it's definitely, closer to like 47, 48% year to date. But if the market's in a decent position, Palantir is kind of in this 22, 25 range. And I think the market's going to give Palantir the permission to continue to surge higher, even though, valuations will get really stretched just on that news because we're going to be in an okay environment. If we're not, then, maybe that news is already baked in. I think a lot of this is going to determine on the broader market. Look at the S&P. It's up 1.4% in the pre-markets. ARM is up 5.9%. SMCI, guys, the thing that fell to 692, it's up 12% in the pre-markets, and it is at 11.9%. It's at 822. It's at $822. Titan contract is 1.5 billion. Titan over 5 years is 1.5 billion over 5 years. Chris says, I used to believe Palantir would dip back to 9 to 10, and it still might, but not sure anymore. Just buying anytime there's a major dip. Yeah, that's also my psychology. So my thing here is that if you're raising cash, it's okay. But if you also get a dip that's not like, $17 on Palantir, but maybe $19 on Palantir, that's okay to buy because then, that is the dip you've been looking for, contextual to where it was before. And you don't have to, worry for it to come down. But even something like Palo Alto Network, guys, that was down 28% yesterday. It's up a pity 2.77. That's like a sympathy up 2% because Nvidia crushed it, right? And so some of these companies, valuations have got ahead of them, or at least they were priced to perfection, and the numbers aren't literally justifying them to continue going to the moon, which is why it's one of those things you just have to be cautious of. But it's not to say that we can't continue pushing higher. And at least today, I think Nvidia is going to help the market push higher. It seems like that's going to happen. Nvidia to 800 at open. Yeah, I mean, 800 would be kind of insane. That would be what, another 50 billion in market cap. Nvidia is going to open at about 1.8 trillion. I could see us going to 770. I think that's possible because we hit that in the pre-markets at one point. We hit 770, dude. We were up basically 14%. So I don't know if we hit 800, but it is possible that this thing just keeps surging. Mitch says, Mitch, thank you for the $20 super chat. He says, appreciate the value with no fluff. Throw this in a joint account for us and buy anything you want. Let's DCA. All right. It's going to go into Palantir. It'll go into the public account. Thank you, Mitch, so much for the $20 super chat. It means the world to me. Thank you for that. Job says the VIX is down hard. Yeah, now let's look at this. We're going to look at the VIX. And also, I want to show you guys, this is another reason why it's just a little weird given where the market is. I mean, we haven't looked at this in a couple of days, but the 10-year is at 4.32. 10 years at 4.32. Last time the 10-year was at 4.32, the S&P was at 450. Now, I don't think that necessarily has to have a one-to-one correlation this time around. Obviously, things have changed in the past 3 months, but it's just giving a little context. We are not at the 3.85 10-year that we were at 3 weeks ago when the S&P was surging. The S&P is surging, and we are at almost 50 basis points above that level. And so if that's the case, it's like it is inching up there a little bit. And I think that's important to understand. Let's get a little bit of more coverage on Nvidia in terms of what they're doing with their demand and supply. Let's listen to our guy, Dan Ives, and then we will keep going from there. Here we go. Here's Dan on the quarter.
Do you at all worry, at all, maybe not, that they just simply won't be able to make enough of this to meet all these super bullish investor expectations?
Look, I mean, as the godfather of AI, Jensen spoke, the market listens. And this shows this is not peaking. The demand's going to continue to accelerate. All of our supply chain checks, we don't see any major supply issue that dents this story into 2025, which is why I believe this puts jet fuel in this tech bull market. Call it a Taylor Swift moment for the tech market. But I believe this is probably the most important earnings that we've seen from any company in the market for the last 5 years.
Eric Jackson, is there anything at all in the quarter that sticks out? I'm not trying to be negative. The stock's up. Everybody loves it. So there's 49 buy ratings and 4 holds on the stock. I mean, some point, somebody's just got to say, well, could something go wrong here?
Well, I own it, Brian. So obviously,
well, you're not the guy then.
I'm thrilled. I love this. I think we're in the second inning of the 9-inning game here. But if you're asking me, is AI a bubble? Yeah, it's a bubble. But I would argue that anything major that you've made a ton of money from in tech over the last 20, 25 years started as a bubble. .com was a bubble. iPhone in 2007, 2008 was a bubble. We're starting to obviously see some of the signs of a bubble. Like, when Nvidia filed the 13F report in a week ago or so, and it said it had an investment in SoundHound, and suddenly the stock was up, 80%.
It's doubled. SoundHound has doubled in like 3 months.
Yeah. So those are signs of a bubble. But do you want to invest in Amazon in 99 or Apple in 2007, 2008? I mean, Nvidia is still very in the early days of this rollout for AI. Most enterprises, are probably going to have a board meeting tomorrow and say, did you see those Nvidia earnings last night? What is our AI strategy? And that is going to fill the top of the funnel for the next generation of customers that's going to come, next quarter and the quarter after that.
But listen, I'm telling you, Dan, next time I go in for a contract negotiation, I'm going to remind my bosses, you can't spell Brian or Sullivan without the letters AI in either name. So that right there should just double, or I'll be making Dan Ives kind of money after that. But on a serious level, there's a lot of things out there. Listen,
you can't spell emit without AI, right? So that's also true. But it is interesting, as Chris points in the chat, he acknowledges that it's a bubble, but still holds the stock. It's a game of musical chairs. We'll talk about more about some of the issues with Nvidia in a second.
It's not necessarily your wheelhouse, Dan, but things like enough electricity generation to power the data centers in Loudoun County, Virginia. There are constraints out there. And the only reason I'm mentioning this, doing this for 25, almost 30 years now, is that when everybody's on one side of the ferry, whenever you think there's nothing that could go wrong, sometimes that's when waves hit. And they may not. And NVIDIA may double from here. I'm just saying that there's got to be something out there that people need to particularly focus on.
Look, I think the biggest issue continues to be China. But I think what was so jaw-dropping in terms of the quarter, even with China on the decline, look at the actual quarter. Now, to your point, I don't think we hit some of those issues in terms of supply or even electricity, not for another 18, 24 months, which is why, Brian, I mean, we believe this is a 1995 movement. This is not a 1999, 2000 movement. And that's why I think for the tech bulls, I mean, this is really, what I view, it's a game changer moment that the godfather of AI delivered yet again.
There you go. Eric.
Okay, so while it might not be 1999, Dan Ives believes it's 1995, but after 1995, we did have 1999. Here's a tweet that's been going viral last night after Nvidia. This is from their 10K. So if we read a little bit from the highlighted part, entering fiscal year 2025, we are gathering customer demand indications across several product transitions. These increased purchase volumes, the number of suppliers, and the integration of new vendors into our supply chain may create more complexity and execution risk. We may incur inventory provisions or impairments if our inventory or supplier capacity commitments exceed demand for our products or demand declines. This is what Chris was talking about on Finance Junkies last night as well, that they got a question about supply and purchase inventory commitments, and the answer wasn't necessarily the best answer. As a result of that, in their 10K, now you may be saying, oh, this is just a regular kind of a warning they have to give. But you gotta ask yourself the question, well, okay, if we're pulling forward a ton of demand right now, and eventually as the music stops and someone has to grab a chair to sit on, and there's not a chair left because there's not enough, there's too much supply, or there's not enough demand to satisfy that supply, the numbers are not going to make sense. The numbers are not going to be the 700% increase in net income year over year. Like, that number is eventually going to go down. And by that time, what price is Nvidia when that happens? Now, this was also posted yesterday. This was a very interesting thing that came out here. Look at this. This is from August 8th, 2000. So this is after Cisco's record earnings. Network giants 4Q revenue rises 61% powered by internet growth. A quote from here: Cisco makes the equipment that forms the plumbing and backbone of the internet. Based on its $460 billion market cap, it is one of the most valuable companies in the world. Nvidia is obviously not Cisco, but this was going viral last night on Twitter as well, because people were saying this feels kind of like Cisco. People were like, this feels a little like, hey, these numbers are insane and we're getting to this amazing top, and like there's all this crazy stuff happening in AI, but is it sustainable? Can it actually continue to happen? Here's another thing that went viral, and again, I'm just showing you some of the bad, because there was obviously so much good, but this was the counter perspective. Would you buy this stock? Would you buy this stock? $100 billion in revenue, a leader in the hottest tech segment, named most innovative company in the world by Fortune, celebrity CEO, 125% stock price appreciation in 6 months. If you said yes, you just bought Enron in June of 2000. Now look, Nvidia is not Enron, and Nvidia is not Cisco. But the question is, how high does Nvidia keep going? Obviously, AI is real. Data center revenue is real. The demand for AI is real. That's why you got all these AI companies like Palantir that are up today, just because their third-order derivative software plays off of Nvidia. But how long will that demand continue to keep going? And so far, what Nvidia said and what Jensen Huang said is like, look, that demand's not stopping. And if that demand's not stopping, that is why I think the market has them up 11%. The implied volatility actually got it right. The market expected 11% up or down, and it ended up going to the upside. And that's what we have right now on Nvidia. Pedro says, surely Nvidia won't grow like this every year. At some point, it's so big that even if they deliver big, it's not a big percentage, but the stock today is cheaper than it was a year ago at $200. Yes, this is true. A couple of reasons on that. Number one, they're growing double than their PE, which is just insane. I think their PE is going to be like 70 when it opens this morning, and yesterday it was like closer to 100. So we'll see when we get the numbers in a second. But that's going to be something that happened because of their growth. On top of that, they bought back $9.5 billion worth of shares, and like that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because they're such a big company. But I think they wanted to make sure that earnings per share continued to inch higher, and they bought back some stock while delivering fantastic growth to really, beat the analyst estimates on a hefty level. And so Nvidia is going to look cheap for their growth, given their market cap based on how, it opens. And if their market cap falls, let's say over the next couple months, it falls 10% or it falls down 5-6%, it's going to get even cheaper because their growth is just going to justify an incredibly hilarious price to earnings against these other companies because they're actually growing. You got Apple trading at, 29 PE and they're not growing at all. So going to be really, really, really interesting to see how this ends up playing out. Garcia, shout out to you. Garcia just moved to Arizona. He just said hello from, or no, not Arizona. You moved to, where's your comment? You moved to Arkansas. You moved to Arkansas. Shout out to you from Arkansas. Thank you for being here. I've never been to Arkansas. I've been to the South. I've been to Texas. I've been to Louisiana. Never been to Arkansas. So I I got to come visit you there one day. Eric says the day Elon announces they're licensing FSD to a major ICE, boom, up 100. Let's look at Tesla. We talked about Nvidia. We'll go back to Nvidia in a second. Tesla right now, 195. They're up about 0.54% in the pre-markets. Now they're up with everybody. So, I mean, I don't think there's any unique reason why they're up. But, I mean, look, automotive revenue for Nvidia was down about 5% year over year. There are some concerns around what EV demand is looking like. Q1 earnings is going to be really important for Tesla to be able to give a little more guidance on gross margins and volume and deliveries. But the street has eaten up Tesla from 181. I mean, that seemed like it was a dip 2 weeks ago. Now it's at 195. I don't know if we get back to that level. If Q1 earnings sucks, then yeah, we can probably get back to that level. But right now it's at 195, continuing to surge with the broader market. And if they really do make progress on FSD, which looks like they are in terms of unveiling that beta to everybody else, maybe the street is going to continue to be more excited for Tesla as FSD gets rolled out. But as of now, FSD is, not legitimately official yet. Job says Q1 will suck for Tesla. I actually agree. I think it will. But we're gonna have to see to get the numbers. And the only reason I think it will is because interest rates are still high. And just like solar, like Enphase and SolarEdge both had crappy quarters. Tesla's gonna have demand, but the question is just how much is the rate of growth going to be to be able to exceed what they had, just 5 quarters ago. And because of rates, I think it's gonna be hard. Flute Rippin says, is this turning into the most epic bull trap of all time ever? I don't know, dude. It's like I raised cash yesterday just to be a little bit on the safe side. So if it is the most epic bull trap, at least portfolio is not going to be totally in the gutter. And I think just being safe than sorry is okay. But if this thing can keep going, which it looks like it has the legs to keep going, maybe it is just an epic bull run that we all are going to see. Rivian is down 20% in the pre-markets. They did not have the best quarter. Now, Rivian, I don't think is necessarily a proxy for Tesla. Rivian's a totally different company from Tesla, but Rivian's earnings were not good. And well, let's just take a look at this. Let's take a little bit of this, and then we'll discuss Rivian because they did not have the best quarter. Here we go.
Shares of EV maker Rivian down by 10% after the company's production target for the full year was well short of the street's estimates. The EV maker reported a wider adjusted loss per share than expected as well, and said it's cutting 10% of salaried jobs here. So for the full year, Rivian now says it will produce just 57,000 vehicles. The average analyst estimate, I believe, was 80,000, as it does announce this cut of 10% of salaried jobs. It looks like the only number that did not miss estimates was the revenue for the fourth quarter, which came in at $1.32 billion versus the $1.25 billion that analysts had been anticipating. Production in the fourth quarter was also a little higher than estimated, although deliveries at just under 14,000 missed the average analyst estimate.
Yeah, and remember, headed into this report, Julie, this stock was already under a ton of pressure. It was already down about 30% so far this year. And I think there have been kind of broader questions, right? How does a company like Rivian sort of navigate this broader slowdown in the EV market, which is tough already for a company like a Tesla, but the challenge is even more acute if you're a smaller EV startup like a Rivian.
Yeah, and there is some commentary from RJ Scaringe, who's the founder and CEO of the company, in the statement here. He talked about great progress in 2023 despite economic headwinds. And he says, we're excited about the year ahead. We're aggressively focused on driving cost efficiency throughout the business, achieving positive margins, and building on our go-to market function to support our long-term growth. And he also highlighted that the next vehicle, the R2, is still set to come out on March 7th.
All right.
We'll see.
Well, let's get more on this. To break down the EV makers report is Jordan Levy, Truist Securities Equity Research Analyst. Jordan, it is great to see you. So listen, Rivian reports, investors clearly not happy, at least initially here in the after hours, Jordan, but walk us through kind of your reaction, your response to the report.
Yeah, absolutely. We're kind of in the midst of digesting the report, but what it's
This guy looks like he had a lot of Rivian and he's not happy right now.
Seems to be is we already kind of saw street estimates coming in a little higher than we thought the company would report because they are doing that mid-year shutdown. But it does seem like, there's a bigger than expected kind of impact here, given all the things we know about interest rates, all the things we know about the demand environment right now. And so it seems like they're reacting to that. They announced a 10% workforce reduction, and in salaried employees and that sort of thing. So they are addressing what needs to be addressed, but certainly I think the production slowdown or the lower than expected production is going to disappoint some folks.
All right. So Rivian spent $1 billion on operating expenses. Okay. They delivered 14,000 vehicles. They spent $1 billion on operating expenses, and they delivered 14,000 vehicles, which is, I mean, Tesla's doing like 450,000, 480,000 a quarter. You know, Rivian's doing 14,000. It's Elon Musk was also tweeting about this yesterday when he was responding to some people talking about Rivian, and he was just like, look, it's really hard to get an electric vehicle company to get to free cash flow positive. It's not easy. And that's the problem Rivian's running into right now. In the same quarter last year, so yeah, I mean, this is in Q4, Tesla spent $2.4 billion on OpEx and delivered 485,000 vehicles. So Rivian spent half of what Tesla spent on OpEx, and they delivered 1/10 of the same vehicles. I mean, this stat is just mind blowing. On top of that, they lost money. They're guiding for 23,000 less vehicles to be delivered next year and next quarter. And the only thing they did well on is they beat on revenue, but like that's like a $200 million beat. It wasn't enough to necessarily show the street that this is a company that's really ready for prime time. And as a result of that, Rivian falls. Now, granted, as we heard, Rivian was already down 30% because they did a convertible debt offering back in early January or late December. And so that's what tanked their stock already. So it's not like they were doing great before this. They were in a tough situation for a while. But this report was definitely not enough of a good report to keep the momentum going on Rivian. So that's down about 21% right now in the pre-market. That's one of the only stocks that's red because everything else is red. Robinhood, 1376. That's surging after Nvidia earnings. S&P 1.32. That's up $503 right now. Spotify's up. Shopify's up 4%. Like Shopify has no correlation with Nvidia. I mean, maybe there's like some generative AI argument you could make, but like that's up. And they went down because they had an earnings off of a pretty tough valuation to justify, but they're up because Nvidia's up. And so that's what makes it feel like, well, this entire market, now Nvidia up 10%, is resting on this one company that is trying to say that, no, this rally has way more steam behind it. And I think it's going to be really interesting over the next couple of weeks how the market interprets, well, does the rally have steam behind it if one company is the reason we're even buying these other stocks? Or do we have to just take a little bit of a chill pill? Nvidia's still going to be around for the next decade, but maybe we don't have to literally give it $200 billion of market cap in 24 hours. We're going to figure out over the next couple of weeks in terms of how this all plays out. Here's another thing that we have to have. We have job reports. We have some macro data. We have jobless claims. And again, the market kind of should be down on these jobless claims if we're continuing to say good news is bad news, but it's not. United States jobless claims, all right, get a look at this. The number of people claiming unemployment benefits in the U.S. sank by 12,000 people to 201,000 on the week ending February 17th, well below market expectations of 218,000. This is the lowest unemployment job claim since the 16-month low of 189,000, which was recorded 5 weeks ago. Additionally, continuing claims fell by 27,000 to 1.862 million on the earlier period, undershooting expectations of 1.885 million. What this means is that unemployed individuals are having an easier time in finding suitable jobs. Now, that's a great thing because you want people who are unemployed to be able to have an opportunity to find a job, right? Having a job is kind of the bedrock of being able to have movement and overall success in your life. Well, it also means inflation gets a little stickier, right? Because everyone has money and they're able to spend. So theoretically, with the market this hot, you would think a jobs report like that would give the market some pause of like, okay, if literally anyone can find a job, the labor market is so tight, that has two implications. Number one, it might mean inflation is here to stay because people are going to continue spending money. And, it's going to be harder for inflation to come down, even if it's not, inflation's here to stay. It's just going to, the rate of growth of it, the rate of decline of it is not going to be as quick as it was over the previous months. And then number two, the Fed doesn't need to cut rates. If people don't even need to file for unemployment, the Fed wanted 4.2% unemployment to be able to cut rates. We're at 3.7, and it doesn't even look like we're increasing from 3.7. This is one of the best labor markets we've had ever. And so the Fed, at this point, the Fed's like, well, if we cut rates, people are going to have more opportunities to find jobs. Wages might continue to go up. So it's such a tricky position for the Fed to be in right now. And it's a really sort of unique spot And I don't really know how they're going to navigate it, but that is something that they have to try to figure out in terms of what they're going to do as the market continues to surge. We have Fiverr earnings this morning. You guys are talking about in the chat. Fiverr, oh boy, Fiverr's down 11%. Fiverr's down 11%. Let me pull up their numbers. Let's look at their numbers. I don't follow Fiverr that much, but let's look at their letters or their results. Okay, here we go. Here's Fiverr. Here is Fiverr. We got market open in about 8 minutes, and then we'll see how this market opens. Right now, it looks like it's going to be epic with every stock surging in the pre-market. Here's Fiverr. Okay, so Fiverr, wow, second bullet point of their press release, AI. AI drove a 4% uplift in gross merchandising volume. Our investments in AI and highly skilled categories led to a 4% net positive impact on GMV in 2023. Okay. Where's the revenue? Okay, here we go. Revenue in the fourth quarter was $91.5 million. That's up 10% year over year. Active buyers, 4.1 million versus 4.3. That's a decrease of 5%. That's not good. For those that don't know what Fiverr is, it's a marketplace to find jobs and talent. So if you need like a graphic designer, you would go to Fiverr or Upwork, and then you try to hire someone from those platforms. The spend per buyer is $278. So that's basically their ARPU. That's up 6% year over year. Take rate is 31.8%. That's up 160 basis points. Are they profitable? Oh, they're profitable. They're actually profitable. They made $5 million, 4.7 million. 4.7 million. Inbound says Fiverr to zero. Why do you guys say Fiverr to zero? Why do you guys don't like Fiverr? What's so bad about Fiverr? Revenue in 2023 was 361 million, an increase of 7.1% year over year. Okay, so these metrics aren't great for a supposedly high growth company. Revenue growth of 10%, ARPU of up 6%, active buyers down 5%, and then overall top line revenue growth up 7%. That's probably not going to move the needle. They are down. How much are they down? They're down 11.29%. Guidance, they expect GMV to accelerate by 1.2%. Adjusted EBITDA, that's going to slowly expand. Revenue, they're only projecting 4% year-over-year growth quarter over quarter, and then 5% year-over-year growth year over year, which is probably why the street's like, well, there's no real reason for us to get excited about this company. And there you go. Fiverr's down. Fiverr's down. Chris says Fiverr still has the potential to lead the gig economy. I didn't buy because there are so many other ways to solve the problem, but getting small bite task-oriented work done. Yeah, look, I've used Fiverr before in the past. I found some, but you know what's better for me? I had a job for a project I'm working on. I just tweeted and I found someone on Twitter. And so like, to me, that was way easier than Fiverr, Upwork, or anything like that. So I don't know, maybe I'm sure it's valuable to people. It's just, I've used it in the past and I didn't get the best results. Like when you can actually talk to real people, and Twitter is a little bit easier to do that. It's better. Fiverr right now down 13% of the day. So yeah, this is a company that's worth $993 million. It'll be worth 13% less as the market opens. It's definitely a small cap. And what we're seeing with small caps, IWM should be up in the pre-market, right? Yeah, well, it's barely up 0.15%. The reason the Russell's not up as much as the S&P is because it's the Russell. It's not the S&P. It's just small caps, right? Until we get actual rate cuts and a quantitative easing environment, it's going to be tough for these small caps to do well. It's just going to be tough for these small caps to do well. Let me show you guys the Fed minutes yesterday as well, or the notes from the minute, because again, this is why I think the small caps are going to have a tough time. The core thesis of this is that Fed officials believe that inflation could come back. Most officials noted risks of cutting too quickly. Balance sheet talks to guide eventual decision on runoff, and some officials saw risk to inflation progress could stall. I think people forget when it comes to a rate cut, all 12 officials have to unanimously agree to cut rates. That's the only time we get a rate cut. If they don't unanimously agree, we're not getting a cut. Like Jay Powell could be the one out of the 12 people that's saying, guys, we have to cut. And if the other 11 say no, they're not going to cut. So the idea, again, that we get that cut as easily as we thought we were going to get, until everyone agrees that it's going to happen, it's likely not going to happen. The probability for a March cut has gone from 77 to 4.5%. May is sitting at 28%. This was closer to like 60% 2 weeks ago. June, that's about 64%. And then July, this is the big one. July is about 83% or 86%. 86% of people think it's going to happen in July. And so as of now, the market's like, all right, you're not going to cut rates till July. Inflation's probably not going to significantly come down at least until June, but we're going to keep buying stocks because the AI is going to lead everything. That is what the market is basically saying right now. And either that's going to be right or that's going to be wrong over the next couple of weeks. But we're going to see how this ends up playing out. Palantir 2378, up 4.53% after hours. Again, we touched 2230 yesterday, ended the day at 2274, but then that Nvidia earnings just spiked us right back up. SMCI is up 13.3%, $831. It was, I mean, SMCI was SMCI was low. SMCI was 692, and it's just back. It says, you know what? Forget it. We're going to just keep rolling. And we are not going to stop the party if Nvidia is not going to stop the party either. And so that's what you got right now in the broader market. John says May or June. Yeah, I mean, I think the market is thinking July now, but it might be May or June. We're going to need really good data for that to come down. What about a rate hike? I don't think we're going to get a rate hike. A rate hike. Some people have been floating, oh, what if we get a rate hike? I don't think that's happening. A rate hike is a little bit too intense for what's happening for like this market. I mean, we're going to get inflation at 2.9, I would imagine, in February. I don't think we need to hike. And the minutes kind of showcase that the Fed thinks we're getting to a top of the rate cycle, but they definitely don't need to cut. Again, if you're just joining, jobless claims for unemployment went down by 12,000. People are finding a job so easily in this economy. And maybe, I mean, here's the contrary point to the bear case for the job report in regards to inflation. Maybe the reason they're finding so many jobs, maybe, is because of AI. Maybe AI is opening up opportunities. Maybe companies are opening up roles to help them with AI. Maybe, AI is making content so much harder to stand out. So that's why we saw Palantir yesterday. They opened up a content strategist role. Maybe they're realizing attention is harder than ever to be able to get because, there's all the deep fakes and stuff. So we need people that are creative. Like maybe there is an argument for why unemployed people are becoming unemployed because there's job offerings because of this artificial intelligence revolution that's happening right now. I mean, maybe that's a stretch of an argument, but maybe that's not, And so AI could be kind of the backbone for why all of this is happening as well. But we're going to see how this plays out. We got 2 minutes, folks, until the market open. Here's my question. Who's in Nvidia? Who's in Nvidia? If you want to put your average there. I know some of you guys have Nvidia. And what are you going to do today? Are you going to sit back and relax and just let it do its thing? Or are you going to potentially trim some today on Nvidia? Let me know. We got, okay. So Derek has some Nvidia. Yes, that is true. Derek, Derek, one of my friends, I know he has a decent amount of Nvidia. Oh boy. Me, average 572, average 672. Derek says he's selling all today. Okay. All right, Derek. We'll see if that happens. Maybe he does sell today. 65 shares, average 742. Oh, damn, Aiden. Dude, you got in at the top so far. You got in like 2 days ago when it was topping. Well, you're up right now, but that average means like you're just breaking even on that one. Some people are saying they're sitting until it reaches 1,500. MNOP says has 29 shares at 245, 30 shares, 16 shares, 285 shares, 314 average. These are not bad averages. These are amazing. Jesse has 3% of them of the portfolio. That's incredible. All right. Well, all eyes are on Nvidia. Here we go, folks. It is Thursday, February 22nd. Nvidia's up 11%, 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Here we go. Nvidia is up 11% on the day. It is going to be really interesting. I want to see, does it sell off? How much sell side pressure is there? Who's selling? Who's buying? Are the buy side orders going to be enough to take over the sell side orders? What is going to happen with this company as it continues to keep going? Order flow. Look at that, dude. Look at that order flow. Outflow 13 billion, inflow 11.5 billion. I think this is including pre-market as well. This order flow is insane. 9.2 million shares have been traded within the past basically hour. 749 up 10%. It's not selling off. It's not selling off. All right, we'll go back to it. SMCI up 16%. It's, oh my God, $840. Palantir up 4.8%. All right, not too bad. So we got 4.8% on Palantir. Robinhood up about 1%, 0.88%. PayPal 57.74. ARM is up 8%. ARM is at a 52-week high. Oh my God, ARM is at a 52-week high. Look, yeah, I'm right. I think I'm right. ARM is at a $138 billion market cap. This is incredible. ARM is at a 52-week high. This is, oh, actually, no, it's not. 52 high was 164, but it's very close to their 52-week high. We're losing track of all these 52-week highs over the past couple of weeks. But ARM just gained like $10 billion in market cap. They're up 8% right now. Nvidia 755. Look at that. Nvidia's rushing to 12%. Nvidia's rushing to 12% right now. The market is mooning. Tesla's down. Really? Is Tesla down? Is Tesla actually down right now? Yeah, Tesla. Wow, Tesla was at 195. Now it's at 192. Okay, let's look at Mag 7. So all of Mag 7 is green except Tesla. Nvidia's up 10%, Amazon's up 2%, Google's up 1%, Meta's up 1.94%, Microsoft up 2%, and Apple up 1%. All these companies are up, I believe, because they're hyperscalers that rely on Nvidia. And if Nvidia is saying, hey, demand is going up well, then, you know, all these other companies outside of Apple, all these other guys are like, all right, if demand's going well, then that means we're going to be able to continue servicing our clients, right? If you don't buy NVIDIA GPUs, you buy services from Google, Amazon, Meta, or Microsoft that have GPUs. And Meta doesn't literally offer the hyperscaling service, even though the reports are that they might do that. But Meta, if you watch ads on Meta, it's because of NVIDIA. Those targeted ads from the recommendation engine are because of NVIDIA GPUs. And so that's what we're seeing right now in the big tech companies. These were the companies that had earnings yesterday. Dutch Bros is up 2.6%. Lucid is down 8.5%. We'll pull up their numbers in a second. Rivian, 24% down. Goodness gracious. AMD's up 5.6%, and Nvidia is up 12% on the day. Let's go to the crypto stocks. Rivian down 24%. That's insane. Crypto, Robinhood's up a little bit. Bitfarms is up 2%. CleanSpark up 1.24%. I sold some CleanSpark yesterday as well as I was raising cash, so sold a little bit of that at 1630. Coinbase 164. Crypto stocks are pretty much green, like flat today. They're not really moving up or down, primarily because they've had a pretty good weekend. Bitcoin's kind of at 51,115. So crypto stocks are basically flat. But the story of the day is Nvidia just continuing to pull higher. Alibaba's up a little bit because China's government said you can't short stocks yesterday. I think that's the only thing keeping Alibaba up. PayPal, of course, is down. Why not? SoFi 820, that's up about 1%. Snapchat 10.91, that's up 1.58%. ARK Innovation 4774. The fact that ARK Innovation has missed the AI revolution, because I'll call it right now, I think Cathie Wood has missed AI. I'll say that right now. Yes, she got Tesla, but really she got Tesla. Well, it was basically a startup. Tesla still has to prove FSD and AI happens. But I think Cathie's missed AI. And if you've got a company in her portfolio that is AI and that she's made returns off of, please let me know. Because it's not Nvidia, it's not Microsoft, it's not Amazon, it's not Google, it's not Meta. She sold Palantir for Roku. She just got back into Palantir, right? And Palantir still has a lot to prove. And, her average on that is not phenomenal on it. So, I don't know, dude. I think Cathie's missed AI. I don't think Cathie's made it when it comes to AI. Where is Nvidia? Nvidia is up 12%, 754. Up 12%, 754. Mike says Zoom is the future. Yeah, Zoom is her AI play. Goodness gracious, dude. That's just insane. It's just insane. To be able to miss some of the things that have been happening for Zoom, it's tough, dude. It's really, 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 really tough. It's just tough. Roku. Yeah, it's Roku. 755 on Nvidia. It's not selling off, guys. So far, the street's buying it up. Look at SMCI, 843. SMCI is up more than Nvidia, but Nvidia's up. Okay, let me look at those options. So again, you could have bought $1,300 strike prices yesterday for Nvidia, expiring tomorrow for 19 cents. Today, those options are worth. Oh, they're worth 1 cent. Okay, those things collapsed. So I guess you would have to. Wow, they went from 16,000 open to 52,000. So a bunch of people gambled right before earnings. I didn't know they would fall that dramatically. I guess people were looking for like a 20% like run up for Nvidia in order for those to be profitable. But yeah, those are down. Now in general, if you had any calls, for 765, 780, 785, they're all up 100%. They're all up a lot. Here's those options. All of these guys, if you have any of these expiring March 8th, you're up really well. Yeah, IV Crush got them. On March 1st, same thing. If you have any of these strikes, you are up pretty well. If you guys can see that they're all up triple digits, 169, 170. Now I didn't do any of these because I was very scared before earnings. I was selling shit. I was really scared. But Nvidia's up. Nvidia does not look like they're getting hit on this. 757. Wow. That means the street's buying. The street saw the numbers, 1.87 trillion market cap. Look at this. Their price to earnings, guys, went from 95 to 61. That's how amazing their growth was. They cut in half their price to earnings and they gained $200 billion in market cap. It's just insane, dude. It is. These numbers are unreal. Like, these numbers are absolutely unreal. And this happened. Broadcom's up 4.8. Yeah, let me go to my semis playlist. Let's see how the semis are doing. The semis have to be doing great today. Semis. Wow, look at that. The only thing that's down is Intel. Marvell up 4%. Taiwan Semi up 4%. Taiwan Semi is a big company, dude. $677 billion. It's not easy to move that thing up 4%. ASML, this is also $372 billion. That's up 4%. AMD up 6.3%. Nvidia 12.6. It's trying to hit 13. ARM 11%. $140 billion for ARM. ARM, I think, is actually overvalued. ARM is growing like 18% year over year. Like, ARM cannot be justified at $141 billion. I think that's actually the candidate to buy a put on. If anyone was thinking of puts, I might end up buying a put on ARM. I'll let you guys know if I do it. But ARM's looking kind of ridiculous, and they're going to dump a shit ton of shares in March once the founder IPO lockup period ends. But they're up because the market's like, you know what? If Nvidia goes up, which you can't really say Nvidia's overvalued given the numbers. I mean, you could say it's gone up too much too quick, but it's hard to make a case that it's legitimately overvalued given the numbers that we saw and how it readjusted their PE ratios. But if Nvidia's up, ARM's going to be up. ARM's going to be up as well. Palantir gains are disappearing. Where's Palantir gains? Palantir's up 1.8%. I mean, we kind of knew that was going to happen. I mean, the surge on Palantir is awesome, but it was going to be hard to have that continue if there was any weakness. So the weird thing is there's no weakness in Nvidia. Nvidia's still up 13% and Palantir's falling off. So, I mean, this is why yesterday I was saying there is a correlation between the two, but it's not like so direct to the point where it's absolutely going to follow Nvidia. But there is some correlation here. And so Palantir's up on the day, but, not up as much as Nvidia. How's Shop looking today? Yeah, let's look at Shop. And then we'll look at what Kathy bought yesterday because she had some interesting buys. Shopify up 2%. Again, Shopify doesn't deserve to be up 2%, dude. The entire market's just up. So to me, this is what I'm really curious about. Is this sustainable? Like, Shopify, there's no reason for Shopify to be up 2%. And even the S&P, dude, there's no reason for the S&P to be surging at 503 outside of Nvidia. So the market has to make a decision over the next coming weeks. Is Nvidia enough, even when the hype and the momentum dies down, even though the numbers justify the hype, for us to chill out a bit and for things to get a little down? And I don't know if the market's going to make that decision. I really don't. Maybe the market just continues to say, you know what, this is what justifies it. Because Shopify, there's no reason for Shopify to be up to, it's just Shopify. It's just a regular green day, but that green day is because of Nvidia. So Shopify's up because of Nvidia. Here's what Kathy bought yesterday. 583,000 shares of SoFi and ARKK and 73,000 shares of SoFi and ARKF. So here's my question to everybody. I want to know what everyone thinks in the chat. Do you think Kathy's buying, she's now bought about 5 million shares of SoFi in the past 2 weeks. Do you think Kathy's buying SoFi because of their fintech platform and that there's, this unique AWS of fintech and they're going to be expanding and all the, bull cases for Galileo and Technisys, if anyone keeps up with SoFi? And obviously she's not buying it for the bank part of it. She doesn't care about banks. Do you think she's buying it for that reason? Or do you think she's buying it because they have their venture fund on SoFi and the inflows into that venture fund will go up if people are excited that Kathy's buying SoFi, and Kathy buying SoFi is the greatest marketing for SoFi because millions of investors, see that newsletter. And then people say, okay, if Kathy's buying SoFi, I'm going to buy SoFi. They download the app and then Kathy's on the front page of the app saying, hey, do you want to invest in our venture fund? And then people invest in the venture fund. What do you guys think? Do you think it's the AWS of fintech narrative? Or do you think it is ARK basically pimping out SoFi for their venture fund, which I don't think is a bad move on SoFi. I think SoFi is really smart to let them get pimped out because more people buy the fucking stock. What do you care if you're SoFi, right? But I do kind of think maybe ARK is like it was in my head. I'm like, why else would ARK buy SoFi? Like, they don't care about banks, right? It either has to be they genuinely believe in this AWS of fintech narrative and the SaaS multiple that SoFi could get, or they're trying to sell their venture fund. It's one of those two things. It's one of those two things. Or maybe she's excited about student loans. I don't know, dude. Like, maybe that's the case. But she is buying a ton of SoFi. So if you have SoFi, honestly, you can't complain because you're like, all right, Kathy's on board and That'll get more people excited. Elf Beauty is at an all-time high. Wow. See, like, why is Elf 5% on the day? Does Nvidia justify Elf being up 5%? I don't know, but it's up 5%. And like, you know, it's not even Christmas time. And then Elf is at an all-time high, right? So this is a pretty incredible price action across the entire board today. Nvidia now up 13%, 762, 1.88 trillion. That means by market cap, these guys are Microsoft's at what, 3.06, Apple's at 2.83. This is the third largest company in the world. Amazon's at 1.79, Nvidia's at 1.88, and then Google's at 1.8 trillion. Google priced the earnings now at 26. Tesla from a market cap perspective is the cheapest big tech, but from a growth perspective, obviously it's probably more Nvidia. Fourth. Or no, what is Saudi Aramco ahead of them, or Berkshire ahead of them? If they're fourth, it must be one of those that's ahead of Nvidia. Peace says, thank you for the $10 super chat. Hopefully the ARC newsletter readers didn't download SoFi today. It took me 30 seconds to open the app and mark it open. Dude, everyone says I'm wrong when I say the SoFi app takes 1 billion seconds to load. I'm so happy, Peace, you finally said it, and everyone can see your comment, because it's like, it really loads. It's been 7 months since I did this live on the SoFi Weekly. I'm like, dude, this takes forever to load, and it still takes forever to load. So it is what it is. I mean, the app is not the bull thesis to me. The bull thesis has to be the AWS of fintech and the fast growth. But yeah, the app, I don't know why it takes so long to load, but it takes so long to load. SoFi up 2% today. Snapchat up 1 point. I mean, the fact that Snapchat's up today lets you know that Nvidia has saved the market. Snapchat should be done. Dude, someone needs to buy Snapchat and put them out of their misery. Put in the chat, who do you think would buy Snapchat? Who do you think could buy Snapchat? Yeah, Aramco. Aramco's the third largest company, and then you got Nvidia. Ian says, Amit, what a great day. Enjoying the spike, but still taking profits on a few things. Yes, let me know in the chat if you're taking profits as well. If you're taking profits. Who could buy Snapchat, and are you taking profits? Those are the two questions. Who can actually buy Snapchat, put them out of their misery, and then are you taking some profits? Robinhood 1368. Oh, by the way, I sold my mom's position yesterday. You guys know you guys keep up with my mom's position. I tweeted about that yesterday as well. So we sold her position. She doubled her money. She gave me $5,000 to invest. We put that into these options, and I gave her $4,300 in December. I'm giving her the extra $6,000 today. Everyone's like, who's paying the taxes on this? And I'm like, dude, I'm paying the tax. I'll cover the fucking taxes. Like, I want to give her the whole cash. I don't want to take out the taxes for her. I'll pay the stupid taxes. You know, she did give me birth. I think I could pay some taxes for her. So this is going to be exciting. And she's going to be able to max out her Roth IRA for the first time at 53. And, you know, over the past couple of weeks, she's been saying she just learned what a Roth IRA is, right? And she's like getting so excited. She's watching all these videos. She's like, I need the money to max out my Roth IRA. I need the money. And she was like, you know, I just need this extra $5,000. And now we're going to be able to give her an extra $6,000. And she's going to be able to max out this Roth IRA. So it's for the first time at 53. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be really cool. So that was one thing we got to do for my mom, and we got to close out the position. The reason I closed it out is because, look, I think Robinhood's going to do very well, but I think, and I could be wrong, in the short term, we may see a little bit of a little instability, and not just Robinhood, but the broader market. And if that's the case, I'd rather just, you know, exit while she's up 100% versus have to wait until the end of the year, especially because she wants to max out that Roth IRA pretty soon. So, that's also what Derek says, bro, you get a $15K per individual per year in fee transfer, no tax. Oh, well, then I need to take advantage of this. You can transfer $15,000 per individual per year in fee transfers, no tax. And I think that's also, if it comes down to family, that's also another rule that the tax law allows. Okay, cool. So then maybe we don't have to pay taxes on that. Maybe we'll see. We'll do some research on that. Maybe that's not free rent for Amit. Yeah, I just paid rent. Hey mom, here's your rent money. That's it. I gave her rent. Edmund says, congrats to your mom for having her son teach her financial literacy. Yeah, dude, it's really special. We're getting to bond over stocks every day. We're talking about it. You know, she's looking at PE ratios. She's looking at shares outstanding. Like, she's learning this shit. And so it's exciting, dude. My mom's been very creative her whole life. She's been in education. She's been in the school districts. She's now like a VP administrator, but she's been a teacher for 15 years. And she knew nothing about the stock market ever, dude. Like, she barely understands finances. Money comes in. Most of it goes to my dad. He handles everything. So over the past year and a half, like, just her learning about the stock market has been exciting. And also, I mean, I tweeted this yesterday. I showed you guys this in the morning, but for those that didn't see it, she knows that I've been able to do this. We took about $14,000 in profits in the first 2 months of the year, which for some people is nothing. For me, that's a decent amount of money. And when I show her, like, hey, I made this much money on this, and this, she gets curious because she's like, all right, if you're able to do this, like how do we do this, right? What's going on here? What are the principles? How can I understand the psychology of what's happening? And this can start getting people excited for this stuff. So I'm really happy that she's been part of this entire journey, and it's going to be fun to see this play out. But we will have to pay some cap gains taxes probably on this shit. Hollywood admit with his leather jacket, but he still cares about the people. Dude, it's going to be so exciting. It's going to be so exciting once we get that leather jacket. It's going to be so much fun. Amit gets his mom into gambling. Dude, some people were saying that. Some people were saying, oh, you put 5,000 into options. That was gambling. I think that is intellectually lazy, if that's your take. SoFi, by the way, up 2.4% right now. S&P 504. Wow. S&P 504. Where's Nvidia? Nvidia's up 14%, guys. Holy sheesh. 771 on Nvidia. All right, we'll look about that in a second. But I think that's intellectually lazy because I bought Robinhood options when the stock was down 80%. It was at $8. And all it needed to do was get to $10 to make a profit. We exited at $13.50 and we're up 100%. So to me, I think it's, you can say these are not 0-day expiration YOLO strikes on Tesla that are going to expire in a week. This was, hey, we have 2 years for this thesis to play out. If we buy the stock and nothing happens over 2 years, the money's in the gutter anyway. Like, are you really going to hold for the next 5 years if the stock doesn't do anything for 2 years? So why don't we take a little bit of leverage with very low risk because the margin of safety is at $8. What's Robinhood going to fall to? $5? It could. But it's already down 80%. This is not buying options in 2021. This is buying options at the end of 2023 or in the middle of 2023 when SoFi was at $4. I did the same thing for my sister, doubled her 12,000 into 24,000 when SoFi was at $4. So to me, it was actually not risky at all. It was just a good trade. Now, you don't get lucky on every trade. You don't get to do every trade, which is why I'm not buying options any time soon because the fucking market's, I think, really frothy. But in May 2023, Robinhood at $8 was dumb, dude. I mean, like that price was fucking stupid. Arnie says it would have been stupid not to do that. I feel stupid for not having bought calls. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, if there's an opportunity, you take the fucking opportunity, especially with my mom's cash, because for her to see that money actually appreciate in that type of way, it just goes to show her things are possible. That's the biggest thing you want to see in the stock market, that things are possible. And if the due diligence is good and the price is fucking dirt cheap, you take the risk. Like, there are certain things you take the risk on. And so that was one of the easiest risks I could have taken on Robinhood. And thankfully got to do that with my mom's money. SMCI is up 20%, guys. SMCI is up 20 freaking percent. This is, dude, what is going on? What is going on? 20% on SMCI. That's it's 878. It looks like it wants to touch 900. Nvidia now 14.6, 773. S&P 505. We're at a new 52-week high. Sorry, a new all-time high for the S&P. 505. We just hit a new all-time high. Where's Palantir? Is Palantir? Robinhood up 1.45%. Market's starting to move a little bit. Palantir's up 3.8%. Okay, so Palantir's not moving as much. Tesla's down somehow on this. Rivian's down 23%. Spotify's up 1%. Palo Alto Networks is up 2% after being down 28%. I'm doing a lot more DD on these guys and seeing if there's, because when a stock falls 30%, you got to see if there's any value there. So I'm going to be letting you guys know over the next couple of weeks what I think about these guys. Celsius 64, Snowflake's up 4%, MicroStrategy 697. Yeah, I mean, where's CleanSpark? CleanSpark up 6%. Okay, 1644 on CleanSpark, so that's really good. Google 145. Google coming from the depths of 139. And then Nvidia, wow, Nvidia's up 15.2. Nvidia's up 15.2. Oh my goodness. It's up $100. It's up $100 today. Wow. Dude, this is crazy. It's up 103 Dolores. Oh my God. SMCI is up $150. Dude, this is a lot. This is a lot in one day. And I think, what about Adobe? Adobe was down for the week. Adobe has to be up today because it's AI. Adobe has to be up. Adobe is, yeah, look at that. Adobe's up. Well, it's barely up, but it's up. Everyone's getting a boost because of Nvidia. Maybe it's not a crazy boost, but they're getting a boost. So Adobe's getting something, but Tesla's not getting a boost. But outside of that, everything else is up. 774 on Nvidia. Why is SMCI up that much? Well, SMCI's largest client is Nvidia. And if Nvidia is like, hey, demand's not slowing down. I mean, Jensen Huang literally said, we have too much demand. He's like, we can't keep up with the demand. He's like, we are trying to keep up with this demand. He's like, every single sector and every single industry of the world is telling us that that they want more of our product. And so if we can't keep up with the demand, that just means that the market's like, all right, so you guys are going to keep growing. You guys are going to keep growing, up 14.35% on the day. Look at the S&P, dude, up 2%. Guys, the S&P on average gives you 8 to 9% a year. The S&P, if I'm not wrong, I think is up 8% year to date, and it's 2 months into the year. S&P, let me check right now. Yeah, we're up 7%. We are up the historical average of the S&P in 7 weeks of trading. Either that means the S&P is going to go crazy to end the rest of the year and we're going to 5,400, forget the $5,100 price targets people had, or this is going to end it soon and it's going to be a rough ending until we make our way back to this level towards the end of half the year. I don't know what's going to happen. At this point, your guess is as good as mine. At this point, I don't think anyone knows. Arnie says Nvidia gives a reason to be for a positive future regardless of macro. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with that as well. So it's just a question now if the street agrees with that valuation continuing to happen, even if the macro takes off a little bit or, falls down a little bit. Intel, yeah, Intel stock. Remember, Intel's guidance was horrible, guys. Intel said they're going to do 12.6 billion in revenue. They did 15 billion in Q4. So they are showing quarter-over-quarter decreased growth. I mean, Intel's guidance was just disgusting a couple of weeks ago. So that is probably why, the market's still not giving them any momentum. Oh, Square earnings today. I'm going to listen to the Square call. I was looking at their balance sheet last night and their financials on Finance Junkies. They're up 3.6%. They spend 1.22 billion in stock-based compensation. Now, look, people were getting in a hissy fit for Palantir issuing 110 million new shares because of stock-based compensation, which I talked about yesterday on the Daily Palantir episode. You guys can check it out. Palantir is doing what, 500 million a year stock-based comp? Palantir is one of the most exciting companies in the world, hiring the smartest people in the world. How the hell is Square doing double Palantir stock-based compensation? And they're a finance like payments company. There is no way anyone can explain to me why Square is spending 1.2 billion on stock-based comp for people that are definitely not doing stuff that's as important as Palantir. It just doesn't make any sense. It is absolute insanity, dude. Chris says Jack Dorsey is a terrible CEO. You might get an infection just listening to that tool. I want to listen. I want to hear him talk. I've never listened to Dorsey on an earnings call ever. So I'm really curious with the numbers. But obviously, Cash App is one of the fastest growing finance products in the world. It's an amazing product. But Cash App, the margins on that are small, right? They're not like a Bitcoin trading hub. They don't make a ton of money like Coinbase does on Bitcoin. They make a small margin on people sending money to each other. So, I mean, I'm going to be curious how he justifies the internal financials and what they point out. Kathy has a crap ton of Square. That's another thing about Kathy. She thinks Square is an AI play. I don't know why, but I don't know what about a Square is AI, but that's another thing. That's she has 200 million shares at that point, and it's a big position for her. Nvidia right now up 13.7%. So the market not letting it fall down, continuing to maintain this momentum. John says Intel needs to do something bold. I think Intel is in a tough situation. It's a legacy company. It's a company that is stable and not growing, but they pay a dividend. I don't know if they're going to be able to really take some dramatic moves. I mean, Pat Gelsinger, interesting CEO. They are expanding. They're building multiple factories across the world for their foundry business, but I don't know if they can do anything that dramatic at this point. Palantir 2341, Nvidia 768, S&P 504, Shopify 77, IWM 199. Small caps are really not taking off. Robinhood up 1.33%. QQQ 434. Look at the QQQ. It's basically at all-time highs. It's a couple points away from all-time highs. I mean, dude, it's insane. Inspire Rise says, I think SoFi or Nubank is a better play than Square. I agree with you, dude. I would buy SoFi 100% over Square if I had to pick. If I had to pick between those two, it's SoFi, and with my eyes closed, I don't even, you could have a different CEO on SoFi. I would buy, and Anthony Noto is a rockstar CEO, but I would buy SoFi over Square any day of the week. And Jack Dorsey versus Anthony Noto, it's not even a question, dude. It's not even a question. Now, maybe if Square got a different CEO, things would be a little different, because I really just don't think Jack Dorsey cares about shareholders. Again, he spent $300 million on Tidal, the music streaming app, because I think he wanted to get friendly with Jay-Z. Like, he did that with shareholder capital, dude. It's just egregious. And what did he do at Twitter? He did nothing on Twitter other than collaborate with the Democrats for like 10 years, dude. Not to get political, but we saw the Twitter files. I mean, like, it was like, what did he do, right? He didn't do anything. You didn't even have the edit button on Twitter for 10 years of him running that thing. Elon changed it in like 8 months. And now people are getting paid on Twitter. I mean, like, that's crazy. How do you not pay people on Twitter for 10 years? That's the biggest way to incentivize content creators to post on your app. You have 10 years, you can't pay people. Elon's like, you know what? We're losing money, but we're still going to find a way to pay content creators. And they did. It's wild, dude. Absolutely wild. Chris says Jack Dorsey can build a good company, just not one that's friendly to shareholders. Yeah, Jack Dorsey is a great founder, but he's not necessarily, I would say, the best CEO for shareholders. Here we got some breaking news, guys. Reddit is in a talk with Google to license content. This broke 9 hours ago. We're in the AI LLM wars. Let's read a little bit of this and see what they have to say. Social media platform Reddit has struck a deal with Google. Oh, so Reuters is reporting that this deal is done to make its content available for training the search engine's giant AI models. 3 people familiar with the deal. This is going to be worth $60 million a year. The deal underscores how Reddit, which is preparing for a high-profile stock market launch, is seeking to generate new revenue and fierce competition for advertising dollars from the likes of TikTok and Meta. Wow. So Google is going to pay Reddit $60 million, which is literally nothing. I mean, that's like a couple pennies to Google. Google made $20 billion of profit last quarter. $60 million is absolutely nothing. But the data they're getting from Reddit, the user-generated content they're getting from Reddit, is going to be incredible. Last year, Reddit said it would charge companies for accessing its application programming interface. This means by the means by which the company produces content. The agreement with Google is the first reported deal with a big AI company. The company, which was valued at $10 billion in a funding round in 2021, is seeking to sell about 10% of its shares. I don't know if they're going to IPO at $10 billion. I think it's going to be $5 billion, because 2021 valuations probably are not sustainable. But they're probably going to IPO closer to that $5 to $7 billion range when it comes to Reddit. Okay, so here's my thing. Crowd Control says Reddit sold out. Yeah, I think Reddit sold out. Dude, like, if you're a user of Reddit and your content's being used to train these AI models and you don't get a bite out of that money, that sucks. At least the New York Times is getting paid with OpenAI, and like Politico, they're getting paid. But like, they have salary journalists. So if you're Politico and you produce like 15 articles a week, and OpenAI is going to pay you like $7 million a year, you can take that $7 million and actually pay the journalists that are producing the articles. With Reddit, you've got billions of users, I think, or hundreds of millions of users, just producing all this valuable content. I mean, Reddit gets indexed on Google search engine, I think, the most out of any website in terms of just like raw question and answer that people have. And now that's going to be training Google's generative AI capabilities, which means Google maybe just give you the answer without having to show you a Reddit link, which maybe is not the best for Reddit long term. But now Reddit's getting paid for that, but none of the users are getting paid for that. Which, I mean, if you're a user, that probably sucks. You're probably not going to stop using Reddit, but you're probably a little annoyed that you're not getting any of that Google money because of this. Google paused Gemini after issues. Really? Oh wow, interesting. Gemini's still working for me, but I imagine for some people they definitely paused it. Yeah, Google had to fix some of the stuff that's going on with some of these prompts. I mean, like, it got pretty insane. So I would imagine they're trying to figure out some of this stuff and how to fix it. Nvidia is up 14%. SMCI is up 19%. Nvidia up 14, SMCI up 19. So Nvidia and SMCI continuing to still hold on to their gains. Wow. So we got Square after hours, Nvidia not stopping. Let's get a little bit more clarity on what's going on by Nvidia, and then we'll look at some macro news, and we'll get another take of what's happening right now on Nvidia. So here we go. Let's take a look at this. This is an argument for why Nvidia's AI demand is not slowing down. And let's listen to this. Here we go. Let me just share this. All right.
Ways is the bellwether for AI demand, for Gen AI demand in particular in this industry. there's going to be a lot of investor appetite and continue to be. But frankly, there will be significant funds to deploy and will be deployed. But based on what we're seeing in the market today, I think it might be prudent to take a measured approach. It's a very, very fast adoption cycle, faster than we've ever seen from any platform shift. And very often, it's not the first or second or even third wave of companies that make it. And I think there is still a lot to be proven, particularly on the B2B application side of things.
When you say on the B2B application side of things, so give me some examples of how you think that plays out.
Yeah, I think, there's a couple of things. Right now, a lot of the value in these private companies are accruing to the infrastructure companies, right? These are the companies that are running the foundational models. And these are also some of the companies like Nvidia, like OpenAI, that are powering all the applications that sit on top of it, as well as all the ML ops companies that sit on top of it. From the application side, right, there are a lot of things that have to be proven out. We're seeing a lot of companies get tremendous growth right off from the start, but they haven't really cracked something that's super important, and that's user retention, right? A lot of these.
Now, one of the things NVIDIA is going to be helping with user retention is they're going to be actually partnering with the hyperscalers. We talked about that a couple of days ago. So NVIDIA is going to be working with Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Meta to build their own customized either recommendation engines or chips or whatever they want to do so that they don't stop using NVIDIA, but they're not as reliant on NVIDIA, but they're still using NVIDIA. They're not like totally absolved of NVIDIA. So the argument she's making in the broader scheme of this infrastructure play that NVIDIA is going to be working on, that's still, going to happen. It's just going to happen in a different way other than NVIDIA literally selling chips to users. You guys are crazy in the comments, dude. You guys are wild. All right, we got some breaking news on home sales. Existing home sales rose 3% in January to start the year, but higher mortgage rates are already hurting. So inventory of homes for sale in January increased 1.01 million units. This is actually really good news. This is really, really good macro news. So we saw on Friday that home sales were at the lowest they were at since April of 2020. But home supply, as per this report, is up 3% from January 2023. Now, we're still at a 3-month low on supply, which is not good for inflation. But this is better than, not being up from January 2023 in terms of home supply. So in the United States, there are 1.01 million homes available for people to buy. Obviously, mortgage rates coming up is not the best thing right now. But as long as those come down and supply continues to go up, we might see a little bit more momentum when it comes to the housing market. Here is one stock I think you guys might have heard about. That is a very interesting stock I've been looking at, but have not made a move on. Lennar. So speaking about housing and speaking about home construction, Lennar is a home constructor. They're up 31% in the past 6 months. And the reason they're up 31% is because we've got to build some damn homes. Year to date, they're up 4%. Over the past year, they're up 59%. As you can see right here, October, they bottomed at 103. And the housing crisis we've had in terms of the supply shock has led to more demand for companies that can construct houses. And that's where you got Lennar. That's up 59%. Now, I'm still going through their financials. I really don't know if there's any juice left to squeeze out of this one. I would imagine if we're at 3-month, if we're only up 3% year over year and we're at 3-month lows on supply of housing, that housing companies are still in demand, or construction companies are in demand. But I have to go through their financials. I've not gone through their financials. But I was looking at housing construction companies yesterday, and Lennar seems like the one that has performed the best over the past year, based on the bit of the housing crisis we have been in since really July 2023. Nvidia up 14% now. That one's up. SMCI 19.5%. That one continues to surge higher. AMD up 8%. Wow. AMD usually doesn't move 8% in a day. AMD is a slow one. AMD tends to be 1 to 2%. I mean, the last time we got 8% was after earnings for AMD. AMD does not move that quickly. AMD is up. That's incredible. Robinhood trying to break 14, $13.95 on Robinhood. Let's see if we can break 14 a little bit later today. The entire market's seeming to take a little bit of a move higher. What's the other one? S&P is at 505 exactly. Look at that. Look at that. Nvidia should go above 800 today. Yeah, I would. I wouldn't be surprised if Nvidia goes up 800 today. That's like another, percentage point, or there 1 or 2 percentage points for it to go up. If it gets to 800, I think it's officially at 2 trillion. Right now, it's a 1.91 trillion. Volume has been 31 million shares on Nvidia. Order flow 6 billion came in, 7 billion came out today. SMH ETF. Oh man, dude, if we all just bought a little bit of this ETF in January, we would be up 24% year to date on a freaking ETF, dude. Think about the lack of risk you're taking. I mean, you're still taking a risk because it's a very consolidated ETF, but at least you own a bunch of everything in the semi space without owning an individual equity, and you're up double digits in the 20s year to date. If we had bought SMH, I wish I had found out about this ETF in January, dude. I didn't even know this was a thing. I found out about it because I heard Michael Burry was shorting it. He closed out his short, but yeah, that short did not go well. But he was like buying puts against it, shorting it. So this is the ETF that if you don't want to buy a semi's name, you just buy the ETF. The SMH is the ETF. Now it's up 24% year to date. I don't know how much higher it can keep going, but it looks like it's continuing to keep going. Rivian's down 25%. That is not good. That's pretty bad. Volume on Rivian right now is 59 million. Market cap 11 billion. That's tough, dude. And it's not even one of those companies where like, well, let's take a look at it. If it's down 30%, maybe we gotta. It's like, dude, they're not making enough vehicles. They're just not. This is not Tesla. If you're gonna buy any EV company, I don't know how anyone really doesn't take a look at Tesla and looks at NIO or Rivian or all these companies. Like, yeah, they're cool. And maybe the valuations are kind of attractive, but to get to free cash flow positive on an EV is just, it's almost impossible. And Tesla figured it out. And so, I don't know. Yeah, Rivian's going to be a tough situation. There was another stock I wanted to look at. I forgot the name. Another stock I wanted to look at. CleanSpark's running. Where's CleanSpark? CleanSpark's running. CleanSpark, 1652. Yeah, that's up 6.88% on the day. Palantir, 2.867. Short QQQ must be down like 4% today. Yeah, that's down 7%. Yep, that's down. If you bought the inverse of the QQQ, you're down pretty bad. TQQQ, the leveraged ETF, that must be up today. That's up 7%. Triple Qs leveraged 3 times are up 7%. Palantir 2.64. Robinhood 1392. PayPal is barely up, but PayPal's up a little bit. There's a company I wanted to look at. I totally forgot the name. I was thinking about it. SoundHound. Oh yeah, I want to show you guys this. So SoundHound CEO did an interview, and we can actually listen to what SoundHound CEO said. So I actually want to hear him. I didn't get to watch this whole thing, but I want to hear what this guy had to say, because obviously Nvidia invested in them, and that's what got the market excited. But here's what the SoundHound CEO has to say about Nvidia's investment. Let's take a look at this. Nvidia's up 15%. Yep, Nvidia's up 15%.
Very thin because.
Okay, so do you guys see this? All right, so this is the one. Here we go.
The announcement sent shares up 66%, and SoundHound shares have more than doubled in the month of February, as you see there, month to date, up 120%. Joining us now is the happy CEO of SoundHound AI, Keyvan Mohajer. Keyvan, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
So that little move in the stock must hearten you as the CEO of this company?
Well, we are focused on the value creation, the long-term value creation, but it's great to have the right the attention that we deserve. We've been at this for almost 20 years and building a lot of foundation in our technology.
How did this stake by Nvidia come about? How does that happen? Do they call you and say, we're going to take a position in your company? Do you, what is the behind the scenes part of that, if there is?
Well, we've known Nvidia for a number of years, and they've been a great ally and shareholder in our company for a number of years. And if you think about it, they are in AI, but they're building the foundation and infrastructure for AI, and SoundHound is putting that infrastructure into really good use with our voice AI and conversational AI technology.
$3.7 million is a lot of money by anybody's standard, but it's not all that much money for AI. How do you use that capital or that kind of wealth creation to make your business stronger?
Well, we are a public company, and our earnings is on February 29th, so we are kind of in a quiet period. So I can't comment on a lot of financial stuff. But if you look at the last 4 years, we've had amazing, incredible growth, about 50% year-over-year growth on average of our revenue that has sustained for 4 years.
I want to get to some of the details of what your company does and where I might encounter your products in a moment. Before I leave the stock question, There have been reports confirmed by the Financial Times that trading volume went up rather dramatically in the days before the announcement of the Nvidia stake in your company. That is sometimes an issue that would attract the interest of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Are you at all concerned about the volume increase? Average volume, trading volume, 2.7 million, but 96 million shares traded.
This guy looks nervous. He's like, he's just like, oh boy, I got to give a good answer to this question.
February 6th, 64 million February 8th, 56 million February 7th. That's a lot of trading volume in the stock before an important material announcement. What would you like to say about it?
Well, I haven't read the full article, but based on the headline, it seems like more as speculation. If you look at other AI companies, first of all, that kind of volume up and down is not that unusual for a company for our company. If you look at a bigger
but
history,
it's higher than the average daily.
It is higher than the average daily, but we've had moments like that. But if you look at other AI companies that were not an Nvidia portfolio, they also had the same experience on the dates that the Financial Times article reported.
Have you had any contact from or with the Securities and Exchange Commission or securities regulators regarding that spike in volume?
No.
Let's get back then to...
Damn. He's like, all right, we're done with this question. Let's move on. Let's talk about AI. Dude, I would have just been like, if that was me, I would have been like, dude, people like the stock. Next question. I don't like, what's the concern here? That maybe the SEC likes the stock too. Like, people like the stock. Why are you so concerned? People like the stock. They like the stock. They like SoundHound. They like AI. It's not that big of a deal. Now, I probably wouldn't have said that. That would have been I would have gotten a nice call by the SEC after that. Like, oh, really? People like the stock, huh? But no, I mean, look, he's probably in a tough situation, dude. I mean, this guy's been working on this thing for 20 years. And in the past 3 weeks, his company's getting more attention than it's gotten in 20 years. I mean, that must be, pretty incredible for him as a CEO, but also he's trying to figure out, like, how do I navigate this situation? SoundHound is up 100% year to date, $1.02 billion market cap. Again, $1 billion to us seems small, but if you work on a company for 20 years and you have $1 billion valuation, that's like the most incredible thing in the world, dude. If for a company to reach $1 billion after 20 years of hard work, that's like your life's work. But to us, as we're trading equities, we're like, oh, it's $1 billion. It's just a small cap company, So for him, it's a much bigger deal. And now it's just going to be a question of how they actually apply their voice technology and consumer applications to make this thing truly, be something that is worthy of Nvidia's investment. Robinhood up 2.4%. Where's Nvidia? SoFi is up 2.2%. Palantir 2.64%. Nvidia 15.2%. Not stopping. SMCI 20.67%. Not stopping. It's just not stopping, folks. It's just not stopping. It is continuing to go. It's quite incredible. We had someone in the chat say that he has 500 Nvidia shares at an average of 145, and he just sold 300 of them at 775. Wow. That means you've been holding on to those shares for years, and today you unloaded 300 of them. Dude, I think for me, if I had Nvidia shares at an average of 145, I don't know if I could sell them. Like, I feel like this is going to be Palantir. Like even if your average is like $20 on Palantir, and Palantir is like 250 in the next decade, like, yeah, you're sitting on a 10x, but like, if Palantir is still putting up numbers the way Nvidia is putting up numbers 20 years into being a public company, I don't know if I could sell them, dude. I would just be like, why would I sell? This thing might just keep going. Like, even if it has some pullbacks, whatever. If my average is if my average was 600, okay, my average is 500, whatever. I'll take my profits. If my average is 145 or 100, I kind of would just let this thing ride until the sunset, But then again, there's also some juicy profits. And if this thing falls back to 500, it may take years to get back to 778. Like, that's the scary part about this right now. If it actually collapses, it may take years, and the guidance might not be that good in 2025, 2026, like it is today on February 22nd, 2024, to justify the valuation it's getting today. And if that's the case, then maybe taking profits are important right now. P-Chef says, admit, I like Palantir, but it won't be Nvidia. Nvidia is the stock of the century. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Nvidia's growth prospects are just different than Palantir. Nvidia is at the epicenter of AI. Palantir is an AI play. Granted, I think Palantir has a 10x inside of it. I think it's going to be really hard, but they have a 10x inside of them. But obviously, Nvidia, Nvidia's Nvidia. Nvidia's up 70,000% since they went public. So, I mean, when it comes to Nvidia, I think it has more room to run, obviously, if the growth keeps continuing, but it has performed just phenomenally. Palantir is up, I think, 100% since they've went public. So they've got a long way to go to really keep putting up the numbers. Mark Mayer says chips are cyclical. There have been other times where people said this time it's different. It's much better risk-wise to take some profit. Yeah, and look, the argument that chips are cyclical, it's not a wrong argument. It's the correct argument. It's what I think everyone's head is telling them to look at. The question is demand non-cyclical enough, i.e. based on all the sort of philosophical stuff Jensen Huang was saying yesterday, to establish the fact that even if there are cycles to this, the next cycle, Nvidia's at 1,200, and there's no looking back to the $700 range because it just grew that much to get there. I don't know. That's what the street thinks with all the price target upgrades we got on the street. But, maybe it is truly cyclical and that demand is going to go down as supply starts continuing to inch up because they don't need as much supply to fulfill all that demand. Here's Gene Munster talking about Nvidia's quarter.
Because I noticed that you noticed the same thing that I noticed in terms of the 1 trillion. But I've got to ask you this question, right? Because, we could do such fancy things with that 1 trillion to extrapolate out, what Nvidia's potential is. But how much is their potential earnings at risk? Because it's not just, they obviously got the moat that they've got now. They've got this leadership position. But AMD's on their heels. You've got Masa-san and Sam Altman and everyone else and the hyperscalers all looking at chips in their own way and trying to develop out these AI chips. Can Nvidia do enough quickly enough before anyone else catches up to take advantage and get the lion's share of that money, if it is, the 1 trillion we're talking about?
Exactly. So we're talking about this $1 trillion. Nvidia's expectations, they're going to do 110 billion in calendar 25, just to put some perspective on this. And on the competitive side, I point out, yes, there's going to be more competition. I think that their market share within the GPU is going to probably go from 80% plus today to probably 60% in the next 5 years. So call that in calendar 28. So I do expect a decline. And I would just point out one piece related to competition is that this is harder than it looks, in part because they have a developer platform that sits around their chips. Basically, if you're an AI developer, this is well known, but it's a big deal. If you're an AI developer, you're learning on their CUDA platform, which essentially allows you to optimize models that run on NVIDIA chips. And that is a critical competitive moat that I think allows them to kind of maintain this 60% plus market share. We invest at Deepwater, we invest in both private companies and public. We're invested in one of the stars in the private chip space. It's called Rain Neuromorphics. And it's really tough. I can tell you as an insider looking at that, how hard it is for them to try to get any sort of edge relative to NVIDIA. It's difficult. And so I think, Will, it's the right question to ask is, yes, there's a massive market opportunity here, but is competition going to come? I think the simple answer is there's going to be less competition than we think over the next 5 years. The next 10 plus years is probably going to be a different story.
Someone was asking in the chat about AMD, and what Gene Munster just said is the reason why I think you should be more bullish over NVIDIA than AMD. First of all, AMD does CPUs, not necessarily GPUs. It's a totally different demand cycle for their products. Their products are in demand, obviously, but it's just a totally different type of appetite that clients have and customers have. NVIDIA is now up 15.6%, $780 when it comes to procuring GPUs. Second of all, if you guys looked at their earnings, AMD's guidance was disgusting. They are declining in data center. They are declining in top line growth. They are declining in gaming. If you just look at their guidance, every single metric they are saying in Q1, they will be either flat or negative. There's not a single metric they're going to be positive on. NVIDIA increased their guidance by $2 billion from what the street expected for Q1, 24 billion versus 22. I mean, it is just insanity what the street expected and how NVIDIA said, you know what, you guys aren't bullish enough. We're actually going to do better than that. AMD is not doing that, dude. NVIDIA is going to do 22 billion next quarter. AMD is doing 5.4 billion, and that's less than the 6.1 billion they did last quarter. So, I mean, look, AMD is going to be a big player, but I don't think it's in the same ballpark as NVIDIA in terms of growth, even though it's in the same ballpark in terms of overall expansion of the AI market. But if you just want to buy AMD because it's cheaper than NVIDIA on a market cap basis, definitely not on a PE basis, then you can make that argument. AMD is up 10% on the day. And look, if NVIDIA goes up, AMD will probably just go up for the hell of it because these stocks are in a bucket. And so that's, probably going to happen long-term with both of these companies. AMD is getting 10% of the AI chip market. Yep, that is correct as well. AMD does make GPUs, I know, but CPUs is the majority of their business, right? It's not all GPUs, but, obviously that will continue to to go higher. Mark Strang says, how long has the stream been going lately? What time do we end? I think we end like close to 10:30 every day. So, I mean, really it's more like 11, but 10:30 is when I get you guys out of here. So I keep you guys locked in from 8:45 to 10:30. It used to be 9:20 to 10. Then it was 8:45 to 10. Now it's 8:40. I can't imagine doing a stream from 9:20 to 10, dude. I basically had 10 minutes to look at some headlines from 9:20 to 9:30, and then 30 minutes to analyze the market. That was not enough time. Like that was just not enough time. We got to really talk about everything going on. So yeah, now it ends around 10:30. But again, these numbers are just insane. Let's look at one more clip from Yardeni Research talking about how the S&P is going to 5,400, and I think they are looking to raise their expectations on price targets. Everyone said 5,100. We're basically there. And so now let's look at the bull case for why 5,400 might end up being where the S&P closes out at. Here we go. June says, LOL, when does class end? Put in the chat if you ever got detention. Put in the chat if you ever got detention. I think I got detention once. Dude, it was the stupidest reason I got detention. It was like, I think like, I don't know. I think the teacher was just in a bad, it was like 6th grade. And I think I was talking to my friend and the teacher was like saying something. I was in the back of class and I was just like talking over him, but it was in the back of the class and he got so mad. He's like, man, you have detention. And I was just looked at him like, really? And he was like, yeah. And then I had to report the next morning at like 7:30 for like in school detention in the morning. It was absolutely stupid. But yeah, let me know in the chat if anyone was a kid who got detention. All right, S&P to 5,400.
Keep it going now. Markets, rates, and more with Ed Yardeni, president of Yardeni Research. And half the time when we have you on, Ed, whatever the overreaction of the day is, you kind of bring us back to the mean. And I guess you'll probably do that with some calm today as well. We may not get seven rate. You feeling that? We may not get 7 rate cuts, but
yo, y'all are getting suspended and expelled in the chat. I did not know you guys were this bad. Goodness, I got 1 detention. I still had a 4.2 GPA when I ended my senior year, so I was still a nerd. But you guys, this is crazy. This is some bad kids.
You think inflation is trending lower? Maybe it'll be uneven, and the economy is doing pretty well.
Yes.
But, so we're somewhere in the middle between panicking on either side.
Well, Joe, you covered everything I was going to say. Yeah,
Tell
look,
me.
I think inflation is continuing to come down. The CPI, both core and headline, excluding shelter, is around 2% right now, and that's on a year-over-year basis. There tends to be an effort by economists to microanalyze the inflation numbers and looking at auto insurance and so on. And the fact is, the Fed really has to focus on the overall inflation rate. They can't control individual components. And the overall inflation rate is still moderating. The economy's great. The labor market is great. I know some people just, I get people disagreeing with me on that, but that's the macroeconomic data. It looks just fine. And so from the Fed's point of view, I've believed their story. They said they were going to cut by 2 to 3 times this year, not by 5 to 7. And I thought that they wouldn't do it the first half of the year because the economy is doing fine. Why mess with success? Inflation is coming down, the economy's strong, the labor market's doing well. And now we've got the roaring 2020s in the stock market with led by Nvidia.
So let's say that just to try to figure out whether there's things to worry about, I started worrying the opposite way. And that was, yeah, a strong economy is great as long as inflation.
Ed Yardeni has been very bullish on inflation coming down for a while. Now his argument is less about inflation and more so just that AI is going to keep the market elevated. And if that's the case, then the market's going to keep surging higher. Yo, y'all are wild in the chat. Tesla says, I got arrested in school once for having a spliff. Teacher actually called the police. I was 13. Dude, that is insane. I got suspended for 3 days. I was the worst student. I hated anyone who told me what to do. I tried to get detention. I could do all my work in an hour and read for the rest of the day. You guys are some bad kids, dude. You guys are some bad kids. I got detention once, and even when I got it, I was like, why am I here, dude? I don't deserve detention. But I got it once. You guys were worse. You guys were worse. Square's up 4%, SoFi up 1.66, Palantir 2.8, Nvidia 4.85, and SMCI 20.16% on the day. AMD 9.5%, CleanSpark 6.86% on the day. S&P 500 1.54, up 504, all-time high on the S&P 500. Where's Robinhood? Robinhood should be at 14. Robinhood should be closer to 14, 13.90. Where is it at? Where's Hood? Hood is 13.93. Okay, it's 13.93 on Robinhood. And then on Palantir, 23.41, up 2.95% on the day. All right. Let's do word of the day, and then I will get you guys out of here for today. Do you like New or SoFi? I would buy SoFi over Nubank. I think the valuation on SoFi is way better. If I had to pick between the two, I would pick SoFi. Captain Crunches, one time I got detention because I said something to someone, and instead of hitting me, they started a fight with someone else who was laughing. How did I get detention? Dude, I remember one time I was with my friend. We were in music class, and we were having some argument, and he was just, I remember this. You just triggered this memory in me. He was like, all right, slap me. And I was like, no, because if I slap you, you're going to get mad and we're going to get we're going to get expelled. And he was like, no, slap me. I won't do anything. I remember this like it was yesterday, dude. We were so upset at each other for some reason. I was like, no, if I slap you, you're going to slap me back. And then we're going to get into a fight and we're going to get suspended. And he was like, no, I promise I won't do anything. Just slap me. And then so I was like, okay. And I slapped the shit out of him. And then he started chasing me. I just ran across the room. And then we got into a little fight. It wasn't like a real fight or anything, but it was hilarious because I was like, you said to slap you. And I really don't like you right now. So I slapped you. And you said you wouldn't do anything. I think now looking back on it 20 years later, it was more so of a taunt. He was like, slap me. Slap me. You know, it was kind of just like, I dare you to. But I interpreted that as like, oh, no. It's okay to do it. You can do it. And I guess you can say my emotional IQ, has gone up higher because now if someone said slap me, I wouldn't slap them. I would probably be like, oh, you're trying to get, you're like trying to get triggered. And so if I do this, it's going to trigger you. But when I was like 10 years old, I was like, oh, no. You said it's okay to slap you. I'm going to slap you. So that's what ended up happening. Word of the day is sycophant.
Sycophant.
Dude, I'm so tired of getting these stupid words wrong. Yesterday's word of the day was ridiculous. Sycophant.
Sycophant.
A self-seeking servile flatterer. Okay, so with my friend back in 6th grade, I was definitely not being a sycophant because I slapped the shit out of him. She saw through the sycophant's deceptive flattery and remained wary of his ulterior motives. So if you're like on a date with a girl and you're super flattery, if you're showering her with compliments, you might be a sycophant to some people. The playwright created a character who has an exaggerated representation of a sycophant using satire to mock those who seek favor through insincere flattery. Interesting. Sycophant. Okay, so someone who just wants a ton of flattery. The World's Got Talent says Amit was the biggest nerd in the room. That's why he was the coolest one here in the channel chat. Yeah, dude. I ended 4th in my class senior year. I should have been first because the girl who was first, no offense to her, but she was really bad at like talking. And so her speech for the valedictorian speech, it was so bad, dude. It was so bad. I remember this in 2016. I was 4th in my class, so I didn't get to give a speech. But if I gave a speech, it would have been a good speech. I think it would have been a fun speech. But I didn't get to give the speech, so I was 4th in my class. Robinhood, $14. There we go, up 3.14% on the day. The entire market is rallying on this news. And so we'll see how this ends up. Robinhood right now, $14. Let's do one more check at Nvidia. Nvidia up 15.25%, SMCI 21%, and then Palantir up 3% on the day, 23.41. All of this happening because of Nvidia. Maybe she's watching the stream now. Yeah, could you imagine? Could you imagine she's watching the stream now? Amit is a sycophant on a date. I have my own sort of charisma when I get on a date. There is one girl I wish who would reach out to me. Her name is Courtney. She was my girlfriend in 1st grade. Legitimately, like she was my girlfriend. Like now, is a girlfriend real in 1st grade? I don't know, but she was my girlfriend. And then she moved in 2nd grade. And I've been trying to find her ever since, just because like I just want to say hi to her. And she's just I tried looking up her on Facebook. I can't find her. So I hope she's out there doing well. Maybe she comes across the stream and she's listening right now and she's there. And reach out to me. My Twitter's in the description, but I've never been able to find her. It's been 20 years. 1st grade. Yeah, dude, 1st grade. 1st grade. Michael said I'm watching this channel from prison. Dude, I don't know if you're lying or not because I think they allow internet in prison. So you might actually be in prison. I don't know. But no, guys, she's not my girlfriend now. She was my girlfriend in first grade. You guys are saying Kelly. Kelly's my girlfriend now. Courtney was my girlfriend in first grade. So I just want to say hi to her, dude. I just want to be like, it just I'm not going to date Courtney now. I just want to know, like, she's alive. Like, it would be kind of cool to reconnect with someone that you had a relationship with in first grade. Now, granted, was it a real relationship? No, but like, it was real enough for me to tell my dad. I remember I came home. I remember this like it was yesterday. I was like, Dad, I have a girlfriend. And he started laughing his ass off because I was in first grade, dude. I was like 5 years old. And I was just like, yeah, it's this girl named Courtney. She loved Hillary Duff. I was like, oh, can we get her Hillary Duff concert tickets? Like, dude, I was a romantic back in first grade. Okay. I was a romantic back in first grade. Yo, Tank's dead. I hate you so much. I hate you so much. He said, it's me, Amit. I've missed you. We got to end the stream. I hate you so much. That comment is literally, that's the worst. Like, I hate you so much, dude. I hate you so much. All right. SMCI is up 21%, 888. Nvidia, 15%. Robin at 1403. Palantir, 2337, 2.77% of the day. That's it. Thank you, everybody, for being here for today. I'll see you guys on the market close at 345, and let's see if this market can continue to keep going higher. Let's see. Someone says, I know Courtney. We do meth together sometimes. All right, I'm done. I'm done with you guys. I will see you guys at 345. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Palantir 2336. I'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone. See you in the market close.